All right, so community question of the week. This one's going to be about CRM best practices in monday.com, really specifically about how to see the last activity date and type, whether it's an email or phone call, right from the board view without digging into each item individually. First off, if you're doing this, it needs to be on an actual contact board, meaning it's one of the CRM contact boards versus just a board that you're using as a contacts board. And you'll kind of notice a difference by, here on this board, I've got this little people icon next to it. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to add 2 columns. The first one is going to be a status column, and then the second one is going to be a date column. And I'm going to call these last activity type and last activity date. And then for the last activity type, I'm going to change these labels. And these are what I'll use, but this could be changed depending on, your use case. I'll do inbound email, outbound email, and I'll do phone call. All right, so from there, now I'm going to go to the Automation Center. And when you open up the Automation Center, it defaults generally to this Manage tab at the top, which is where you can kind of create your own recipes, your own automations. When this happens, then do this, and you can choose all of those steps. For what we're going to do right now, we need to switch to Create tab, which is where more of like the templates live. And so if you're ever in the Manage section working on an automation and something's not working correctly or you can't find what it is you're looking for, switch over to Create and look for it there. More often than not, you'll find what you're looking for. So I'm going to come into here and I'm going to search for the word emails, and I'll see this emails and activities app, which comes with the CRM product. So I'm going to click on that and you'll see all of these templated automations that are based around the emails and activities timeline. So I'm going to start with this. When activity is created in emails and activities, set status to something. And the activity type I'm going to start with is call summary. So when a call summary is created, then set that last activity type to a phone call. I'm going to create the automation. And then I'm going to go back to that Create tab. I'm going to search for emails again, emails and activities. And then now I'm going to focus on the emails part of it. And so for those, we're not going to use the templates that have activity as bold. We're specifically looking for the ones talking about email. So for example, when incoming email received from email column, then change status to something. So the email column, I've only got one on that board. Status again is last activity type. And because this is an incoming, I'm going to choose inbound email. And then back to create emails. And a tip here is I can scroll, or now there's a search bar at the top, and I'm going to search for sent. And here is what I want when an email is sent to that email address, and change status. So again, email, activity type, outbound email. All right, so that takes care of those 3 different activity types. And now I also want the date column to be updated. And so now I'm going to add from the normal automation section, I'm going to say when status changes, and I'm going to say that last activity type, whenever it changes to anything. I don't need to have 3 different ones. I don't need to have one for phone, inbound email, or outbound email. Just say when it changes to anything, then set date, activity type to now. And I'm going to choose now because that will add in the timestamp versus just the date. So I've done that. And then now to test it, I'll just come into one of these fake options that are in here. I'm going to say add activity, call summary, test, add, step back out, and we'll see. Last activity type has changed to phone, and now we see the activity date is this morning at 10:51. If you have other activity types, notes or meetings, things like that, you could add in the same kind of automations around that as well. You could even set up filters that any contacts that the last activity type was an inbound email. Maybe you have a filter at the top where it only shows you those contacts, so you know who needs to be replied to, or maybe which account needs some review. That hope that helps. That's how I keep the last activity date and type visible right from the board view. If you've got a monday.com question, let me know, and maybe that'll be next week's video. Have a great one.